Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is Friday, January 2nd, 2026. We are starting the new year with a signal that the filter era is officially over. Instagram's head says AI has killed the curated aesthetic, and the only way forward is cryptographic proof of reality. Meanwhile, DeepSeek has just dropped a technical bombshell that could rewrite the rules of transformer efficiency. And an unlikely political alliance is forming to stop the AI industry from draining the power grid dry. Also today, OpenAI overhauls its audio team for a Jony Ive device, Alibaba unveils an agent that can control your phone better than you can, and we list the 8 new billionaires you probably haven't heard of. But before we dive into today's briefing, are you drowning in dense legal text? Gemini is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27, Canada, or the CMS 057F interoperability rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at djamgamine.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now let's unravel the news.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today is pretty simple, really.
We're trying to give you the ultimate shortcut.
Exactly. A shortcut to being well-informed about the incredibly complex and fast-moving world of artificial intelligence.
And we're not just skimming headlines.
No, we are going deep into a strategic briefing that covers early 2026, and we're pulling out what we think are the most critical shifts.
Yeah, and what makes this dive, I think, a bit unique is that we're synthesizing material from a few different places. A tech forecast, an economic outlook, a policy briefing.
So you get that 360-degree view.
It lets us connect dots that might seem totally unrelated at first glance.
Okay, let's unpack that, because the scope here it's huge. These sources cover everything from why your social media feed just feels so strange lately to, well, why your power bill is going up.
And what U.S. governors are trying to do about it.
It's all connected.
What's really fascinating to me is the collision we're seeing. You have these just relentless gains in technological efficiency happening in the digital world. But they are running headlong into the kind of rigid infrastructure and slow-moving policy of the physical world.
It's a moment of huge tension.
A huge tension.
So let's start there with that cultural tension. Let's talk about where AI has gotten so good, it's actually broken something we used to take for granted.
The great irony of Instagram.
Exactly. The death of the filter.
I mean, Adam Mosseri, who runs Instagram, he put out this big year-end essay.
And he basically admitted it, right?
He essentially conceded that the platform's signature look, like super curated, polished, glossy photo, is functionally dead.
Killed by AI.
Killed by the sheer quality and just the accessibility of generative AI content. Anyone can do it now.
That's just wild. The company that literally defined filter culture now finds its own tools are basically meaningless.
Because AI can create a perfect, filtered, and completely fake reality with a simple prompt.
So what's the reaction? How are people, especially younger users, responding?
Well, the source material points to this really profound shift,
Right.
especially in the under 25 group. They're actively abandoning that polished grid. They're opting for what the briefing calls unflattering candids.
So like the opposite of curated?
And a lot more personal direct message photos. The raw post is now the only proof that something is real.
So the lack of polish is the new authenticity.
It's the only evidence we have left that something might have actually happened.
So how does Mosseri propose to fix this? You can't just weed out the fakes. That's a losing battle.
It is. So he's pushing for a really radical fix right at the source.
He's talking about cryptographic signing, isn't he?
He is. He proposed that camera makers, Sony, Canon, Apple, should build in technology to cryptographically sign photos and videos the moment they're captured.
To create an unbreakable chain of custody.
Irrefutable proof of origin. If that file hasn't been signed by trusted hardware, you just assume it's not real.
That is a huge undertaking, though. Is that actually feasible for 2026, or is it more of a goal?
It's a massive, massive lift. But I think it just speaks to how severe the problem is.
So what's the short-term fix?
Well, in the meantime, Instagram's immediate plan is to, label AI content more clearly, but also, and this is key, to build tools to help human creators actually compete.
Compete with the flood of synthetic media.
Exactly.
Okay, so this cultural crisis is being driven by these underlying technical gains. That's a perfect transition to the hardware race.
Right, because all that AI content is fueled by models getting smarter and, maybe more importantly, way more efficient.
And we have a key development here from DeepSeek, the Chinese firm.
Yeah, DeepSeek has really made a name for itself, producing these models that get close to frontier performance, but for like a fraction of the cost.
And their new research points to a big change.
A major architectural shift. They're not just focused on scaling up anymore, they're scaling smarter.
Okay, what does that mean?
They introduced this concept called MHC. It stands for Manifold-Constrained Hyper-Connections.
Which sounds very technical.
It is, but the takeaway is groundbreaking.
Right.
Instead of just throwing more computers and more energy at the problem to make a model bigger, MHC stabilizes and improves the training of these massive models with almost no extra computing cost.
So if a large language model is like a huge city, they found a way to fix the traffic without building more roads.
That's a really good analogy. They're optimizing the internal pathways, making the whole structure more robust.
And the results?
The tests they ran on their 3B, 9B, and 27B parameter models, they all showed big improvements, especially on complex reasoning tasks.
So we can expect Chinese releases in 2026 to be even more competitive and cheaper to run.
Way more competitive.
Yeah.
And that cost efficiency, that's the real story here.
Because if running these huge models gets cheaper and more stable, you can start putting them in brand new devices.
Which is exactly why OpenAI has been reorganizing its teams to focus on that Gemini-Ive collaboration.
The voice-first device.
Right. And that consolidation was, from what the briefing says, driven by necessity. OpenAI's internal voice models were apparently lagging.
Lagging behind ChatGPT.
Yeah, way behind in speed and accuracy. And you can't launch a voice-first device if the voice part is slow and clunky.
So what's the fix? What's the leap they're making in Q1 2026?
It's all about making it feel like a real conversation. The key upgrade will let you talk over the AI while it's responding.
Oh, so no more waiting for it to finish its sentence.
Exactly. It removes that friction, makes the whole thing feel natural and, bidirectional.
That's the difference between a voice assistant and a voice partner.
Totally. And the device itself, the one from Jony Ive's firm, which OpenAI reportedly bought for $6.5 billion.
Wow.
It's meant to be a kind of philosophical statement against a smartphone.
How so?
The explicit design goal from Ive's team is to avoid smartphone-style addiction.
So it does its job and then gets out of the way?
Exactly. It prioritizes voice, it solves a problem, and then it disappears. It's not designed to hold your attention.
So this really connects back to the DeepSeek efficiency gains.
Absolutely. The push for cheaper, more stable models is what makes these new kinds of hardware possible in the first place. You need that power to enable a voice-first device designed for anti-addiction.
The whole ecosystem is moving towards this low-friction, always-on AI.
And that only works if the models are cheap enough to run in millions of devices.
Okay, let's shift focus to the money, the financial landscape. Because this efficiency, it's creating enormous wealth, but it's also causing huge disruption.
We're seeing two really strong parallel trends. On one hand, you have this instant creation of AI wealth.
And on the other,
the quiet destruction of legacy white-collar jobs.
It's the classic gold rush story.
It is. Everyone was watching the gold diggers, the big model makers. But the real generational wealth is being made by the people selling the spades.
The spade sellers. So who are they exactly? Why are they so valuable right now?
Okay, take a company like Scale AI. They do data labeling. They're huge because every model needs clean, high-quality training data. The demand is basically infinite.
Okay, who else?
Then you have Cursor, building AI coding tools, Perplexity, the AI search engine, Harvey, which is AI for lawyers.
So they're all providing tools that create massive productivity jumps.
Immediately. And then, of course, there's Figure AI, building the humanoid robots, the physical body for all this intelligence.
So the money is flooding into the tools that turn AI potential into actual business functions.
But that's the flip side, isn't it?
Yeah.
That translation means efficiency for the company, but for the employee, it often means their job is obsolete.
That's the efficiency bloodletting you mentioned.
And it's hitting these high-paying, traditionally stable industries first. The Morgan Stanley analysis on European banking is, frankly, chilling.
What are the numbers?
They're forecasting 200,000 job cuts by 2030. That's 10% of the workforce across 35 major banks.
200,000. And where are those cuts focused?
It's the unglamorous stuff, the back office operations, risk management, compliance, All the repetitive but high oversight work.
And they're targeting huge...
30% efficiency gains.
Yeah.
And you see it everywhere. Goldman Sachs has its 1GS 3.0 push, basically a massive streamlining effort with cuts and a hiring freeze as they automate these roles.
So the takeaway is pretty stark. New wealth is being made in the AI tool layer,
Right.
while the direct impact for many traditional workers is just risk, job risk.
And that economic turbulence, plus the sheer physical demand of these new AI companies, is creating a pretty significant political backlash.
This is one of the most fascinating parts of the briefing because it highlights this really unusual alignment.
Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders and right-wing Governor Ron DeSantis.
Who agree on almost nothing.
But they found common ground in their skepticism of the data center boom.
It just shows that the issue has gone beyond typical left-right politics.
For sure. Sanders is focused on the human cost. He called for a national moratorium on new construction. He's arguing society just isn't ready for this level of job displacement.
And DeSantis, he's coming at it from a completely different angle.
A totally different one. He's focused purely on resources and states' rights.
His AI Bill of Rights.
Exactly. And the key part of that is protecting a local community's right to just say no, to block a data center from being built.
And his argument is just about physical limits.
Simple as that. He's saying the U.S. has a limited grid capacity, and the AI industry is just sucking it dry without paying the full cost.
And the numbers seem to back that up. Let's talk about the crisis at PJM interconnection.
Right, so PJM is the biggest grid in the country. It serves 65 million people across 13 states.
And they're in trouble.
They've issued a grave warning. The grid is on track to be 6 gigawatts short of what it needs to be reliable by 2027.
6 gigawatts. For context, how big is that?
That is roughly the entire peak electricity demand of a city like Philadelphia.
Wow.
And the grid monitor said they have never, ever faced a shortfall this big. The risk of system-wide blackouts is going up dramatically.
And someone has to pay for the strain on the infrastructure.
And that someone is you, the consumer. The price to secure enough power capacity in that region has just exploded.
It's the data centers driving it?
Directly. Watchdogs estimate $23 billion in costs are attributable just to data centers. They're calling it a massive wealth transfer.
Where the cost of corporate AI demand is passed right onto residential power bills.
And your electricity prices are forecast to go up another 4% in 2026, on top of the increases we've already seen.
So this is a direct, measurable consequence for millions of families.
And that strain gets worse because of other regulatory issues. The briefing noted how President Trump's pause on big renewable projects, like a huge offshore wind farm in Virginia, took a lot of planned power off the table right when it was needed most.
And regulators are now scrambling to react.
Yeah, like in Virginia, the utility regulator is stepping in. Starting in 2027, data centers have to pay for the majority of the cost of any new power lines or plants built to serve them.
What about this idea of co-location, of AI companies just building their own power plants?
Well, it sounds like a good fix on paper.
But there's a catch.
There's a big catch. A watchdog warned that when a data center builds its own private power plant, it takes that generation off the market.
Meaning it's not available for the rest of the grid?
Right, so during a heat wave or an emergency, that power can't be used to prevent blackouts for everyone else. It could actually make the public grid less stable.
So the big question is, when an industry grows this fast, who really bears the cost?
And it seems politics is finally catching up to the physical limits of land, water, and power.
Okay, let's pivot from that turmoil. I want to end our main discussion on a more positive note. A tangible application of AI that's closing a resource gap and doing some real human good.
Yeah, this is a beautiful contrast. It's an AI system from researchers at National Taiwan University.
And it's designed for medicine in low-resource settings.
Exactly. Places where you just don't have access to specialists. It's designed to detect the risk of stomach cancer.
So how does it work without a specialist on hand?
It acts as a kind of digital assistant for the frontline doctor. It analyzes routine upper endoscopy images, and it was trained on thousands of images that were reviewed by top experts.
So it brings the expert's eye to the general practitioner.
That's it. It automatically picks the clearest images, makes sure the focus is right, and then it highlights these tiny, subtle details, surface changes, weird vascular patterns that are linked to cancer risk or an H. pylori infection.
It's democratizing that expert knowledge.
And standardizing the assessment. The clinical value is huge. It helps a doctor move beyond a vague term like gastritis to a really precise diagnosis.
So they know the right next steps to take.
Whether it's testing, therapy, or just careful surveillance.
And to be clear, it's not replacing the doctor.
No, the researchers were very clear on that. They call it a digital assistant that supports clinical judgment. The real win is closing that quality gap for remote communities.
That's a phenomenal use of this technology, using AI precision to directly save lives.
It really balances out all the tension we've been talking about.
It does. We've seen incredible technological progress and, at the same time, these severe infrastructural bottlenecks all in one briefing.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. The cultural fight between what's real and what's fake, the economic tension between creating AI wealth and destroying old jobs, and this critical battle between AI growth and the power grid.
That really is the defining feature of AI right now.
Right.
Every single digital breakthrough creates a new, very physical or social problem that we then have to solve.
A crisis of trust, a lack of power.
It's a constant cycle.
Speaking of solving problems, let's leave you with one final thought to mull over. Something that connects these trends of efficiency and new hardware.
So remember we talked about OpenAI's voice-first device,
Mm-hmm.
the one designed with Jony Ive's firm to avoid screen addiction.
Right, hardware built around conversation.
Now, at the same time, look at the specialized software that's coming out. Alibaba just released details on something called MAI-UI.
Okay.
It's a family of agents that can take natural language instructions, like, say, book me a morning flight to Denver next week, and turn that into structured actions on a live phone screen.
That's good.
It's better than rivals like Gemini 2.5 Pro on complex mobile tasks.
So you have these models that are getting really good at turning voice commands into phone actions.
And you have new hardware that is designed to move us away from looking at the screen entirely.
So how quickly will systems like MAI-UI turn your iPhone or your Android into a fully automated, invisible environment controlled only by the voice commands you give to your next-gen AI hardware, making the visual interface, maybe totally optional?
Something to think about.
Something to think about until the next deep dive.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is efficiency, both technical and brutal. Technically, DeepSeek and Alibaba are finding ways to do more with less compute. But economically, that same efficiency is forecasting a 200,000 job cut in European banking. The ability to do more with less is the holy grail of engineering, but it is becoming the headache of policymakers. Before we go, a reminder for the leaders listening. Are you drowning in dense legal text? Gemini is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27, Canada, or the CMS 0057F interoperability rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at djamgamine.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until Monday, keep unraveling the future.